Hello, gentle listener, and welcome to another bit of my musings and wonderments from what's on my mind. For this topic, tears, I am indebted to Eugene Kennedy in his book, The Pain of Being Human. Tears are a language we all speak with different accents and meanings according to the complicated socio-cultural practices of how we have learned to express our emotions. This comment by Eugene Kennedy in his reflections got me to thinking. I have spent most of my adult life unlearning some 1950s stuff from childhood, such as tears are a sign of weakness and little boys and manly men don't cry. My parents had very little tolerance for tears in general, and tears of self-pity or crocodile tears, well, we won't even go there. But I don't think I ever saw my father cry. In my parents' defense, there was some change in their understanding and acceptance of my tears in their later adult life. And in my adult life, I learned that my family had tears of happiness and tears of sadness. There were times when my grandmother cried inexplicably at special holiday moments, and sometimes just because she was so proud of me. In my practice of psychotherapy, I learned that tears were a means to connect, a means of communication just as valid as any word itself, a deep expression of vulnerability and openness. I have had my own share of times when tears came despite my best efforts to hide or control them, and gradually I learned to just let them come. Weeping is the human response to overwhelming emotions, both good and bad. True, some people do cry more easily than others, but most of us have cried at times of intense sadness, profuse joy, or overwhelming grief. Researchers have established that crying releases oxytocin and endogenous opioids, also known as endorphins. These feel-good chemicals help ease both physical and emotional pain. Scientists divide tears into three distinct categories: reflex tears, continuous tears, and emotional tears. The first two categories are 98% water, and they perform the important function of removing debris such as smoke and dust from our eyes and lubricating our eyes to help protect them from infection. It is the third category, emotional tears, that potentially offer the most health benefit, releasing endorphins, which flush stress hormones and other toxins out of our system. These tears offer the health benefit. The feel-good chemicals help ease both physical and emotional pain. Now, popular culture, for its part, has always known the value of a good cry as a way to feel better. As challenging as it may be, the best way to handle difficult feelings, including sadness and grief, is to embrace them. That often means a good cry. And so it is important to allow yourself to cry if you feel like it. Many people associate crying with grief as depression, when it can be a sign of healing. Teaching boys and young men that it's okay to cry may reduce negative behavior and help them have fuller lives. Did you know that tears have an ancient and a sacred history? Because of my background, I am more familiar with the sacred scriptures that link their origins to a common father in faith, Abraham, in our Western civilization, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. But I would not doubt the significance of tears is universally expressed in other sacred books. In our sacred texts, we often take some poetic license as we assign to an anthropomorphized God our human qualities. Humans are created in the image of God, according to Genesis, and our tears are somehow connected to the divine, and the divine in us. We attribute our emotions to God and ask, does God cry? The quick answer in these sacred stories is yes. When God takes on the form of man and comes to live among us, St. Paul tells us that the whole world groans and cries out, longing for fulfillment. And in his letters to Philippians and Hebrews, Paul says, God feels the full spectrum of human emotions that we feel. The Gospels record a wide range of emotion expressed by Jesus, including a couple of occasions when he wept on behalf of other people. At Lazarus' tomb, according to John, and Luke says Jesus wept over the city of Jerusalem. It is also said that Jesus wept in the Garden of Gethsemane and cried out with dread from the cross as he begged the Father to find some other way. The psalmist is also no stranger to tears. Psalm 56 and Psalm 30 refer to God's response to the sorrowful. The surahs of the Quran and the accounts of the life of the Prophet Muhammad give us an interesting insight into tears. Weeping is a virtuous act when receiving knowledge. It is a sign of humility that you are able to shed a tear in the face of a spiritual truth. In Islamic tradition, crying is not a sign of weakness. It does not make men weak, and the Prophet Muhammad is noted to have cried often. And tears are plentiful among the Greek heroes, such as Achilles and Odysseus in Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey. Tears are above all a sign that we are alive, the heart still beats, and that we care. Tears draw our eyes to connect one soul to another, so tears do not need to be shed alone. Only the dead, or the dead inside, have no tears. So take the time, find a safe place, and allow your tender self to go have a good cry if you need to. Thanks for joining me in this YouTube adventure. Check the information in the description for links to my books and for the resources used to create this video. Click subscribe below to be notified of future videos. Click thumbs up if you liked this one. And yes, if you have a comment, you can write it in the YouTube video site, use the contact form on the website, or just send me an email.